Hey guys, welcome to the PK Pod. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how we can find joy in the little things of life. Something that we're going to be starting is that at the beginning of every episode, we're going to have a little fun question. And today's fun question is, what is your favorite holiday?
My favorite holiday is probably Christmas. I don't know. I just like how long the Christmas season lasts, and I love like getting gifts for people and stuff like that. What is your favorite holiday?
So I normally would say Christmas, but lately I've been getting into 4th of July. Like, it's so patriotic. Like,
yeah.
America. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just kind of like, yeah.
So if you guys want to answer this question, make sure to drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you guys.
So in today's world, there are just a lot of sad people. Like, you go to the grocery store, you go to your local coffee shop, and it just seems like there's a lot of depressed people.
Yeah, and I know, like, I usually try to, like, smile. Like, sometimes for me, like, my resting face is not, like, a smile.
Same. So like, I'll be thinking, like, really happy, and then I'm, like, staring off, and I'm like...
Yeah. So sometimes it's hard to be intentional about being happy, so... Everybody who's not smiling isn't always not happy, but it just seems like, you know, everybody's just having a bad day a lot and that sort of thing. And I think even, like, some people who seem happy, they find that their happiness is temporary and it only lasts, like, as long as whatever they're happy about lasts.
And I think that as Christians, too, we should be different. Like, if you're in the grocery store and you see someone, it should be like, oh, they're a Christian. Or, you know, they're different. Maybe you don't know they're a Christian, but you see that they're different.
We shouldn't, like, blend in with everybody else.
Like, smile. Like,
stand
I don't know.
out.
Like, I feel like we should be having... Like, we have so much to be happy about as Christians.
Well, and the Bible says, like, among whom as ye shine as lights in the world or something like that. So it's like, you should literally be, like, shining. Like,
glowing.
With joy.
Oh. So what should our joy be based on?
Yeah, so... Sometimes I think that, like, things go wrong. You have a bad day. Someone, like, gets mad at you or something like that, or says rude things. Things feel like they're falling apart. You know, like, you have bad days. And I totally get that. But...
I'm having a really bad day. No, I'm kidding. No. I'm not. I'm having a great day. I'm okay, guys.
I'm having a bad day. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's have a bad day together.
Hey, just made it a good day.
It's a good day. It's a good day.
So, but... we shouldn't just try to be happy on the outside. We should have joy on the inside. So it's not like this temporary thing where it's just outward, like you're smiling or you're laughing or whatever. It's not just that. It's having joy on the inside.
Yeah, and joy is different than happiness, and it's based on Jesus. And because Jesus or God never changes, we can be happy all the time.
Literally, yeah. So it's not the same as happiness. Happiness is just based on whatever, like, your circumstances or whatever. Joy is based on something that, like, will never go away. And that is the difference between happiness and joy.
Yeah. That's something that I'm even learning now, because I didn't actually know that. Even as we were looking through our little outline, I was like, oh. Like, you learn something new. Like, this is why we start the podcast, because we're learning things as we're doing this. It's awesome.
Yes, exactly. And I think we were talking about that in youth group a while ago. We were talking about joy, remember, with James. And we'll mention a verse of James a little later in the podcast. One of my favorite verses, actually. We memorized it a long time ago. But I think a really important thing that you have to, like, consciously remember is not to let anything steal your joy. And it can get stolen so easily if you let it, because you have to make a conscious choice, because we tend to, our flesh at least, tends to want to sin, to be discontent or whatever, which we'll talk about. And your joy can get stolen so easily, so you have to choose
if you let it,
to be joyful. If you let it,
Yeah, and I think worrying is also a huge thing. That's something that I've struggled with. Like, that goes along with anxiety too, I feel like.
Yes.
And anxiety is just, it's a lack of trust in God.
Yes, and that's something that I've struggled with a lot too.
Same,
and it's hard to be joyful when you're not trusting God, because God is the one who your joy is based in.
Look at that.
It goes right
So we need to let him handle.
Yes.
Give him our, there's a Bible verse about that, where we can let...
Casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you.
Okay, yeah. I read my Bible. I do, I promise.
Yes, I see her read her Bible. I can vouch for it. You're welcome.
Yeah, and then also I think bitterness too. We should not let what other people have done in our lives ruin our lives. So if you think about it, if something was done to us in the past, our anger can turn into bitterness. Or bitterness can turn into anger, I guess would be the better way of putting it.
I feel like I've met a lot of people, like especially older people, and if you've ever noticed like, oh, this older person is so grumpy. Sometimes if you talk to them, they have something that they're hanging on to from way back. And it's really sad.
Yeah.
Because us being young, like, we can't imagine that.
Right.
But it can happen. It can happen
to
us,
little
too.
Baby.
You can't hold on to something so long that it steals your joy. And going back to what you're saying about worry, like I was saying, that's something that I've really struggled with.
Same, girl.
And it's easy. Okay, here's the thing. Worry and anxiety, we're going to have probably at least one episode on worry and anxiety. Yes. There's a lot you can say about that. But I just wanted to say one thing. Worry and anxiety.
I'm so sorry.
Rude. Worry and anxiety is self-centered. Now, you don't think that it would be self-centered, but it is.
It is.
It's not putting the focus on God. It's putting the focus on yourself. You think that it won't be, you're like, oh, you're thinking about other people. What are they going to think of me? What do they think about this?
Yeah.
But it's actually, what do they think about me? What do they want me to do? It's actually self-centered. So if you take that focus off of you and onto first God and then other people, then your joy will come right back.
Yeah. And sometimes you'll meet people who, whether they're older or younger, and they have just one thing to have. And again, I'm not like saying that this one thing wasn't important, because I'm sure it was. But I'm saying they'll have this one thing that happened in their life, and that's what they make their life about. If it's something like bad or something, like an event that happened, and they're just angry, you could see it like in their eyes. Like they're just angry,
they
like
had
bitter.
This one bad thing happen to them, and it stole their joy for the rest of their life. And I mean, think about this though. Think about a lot of people who have had tons of bad things. I always think of Corrie ten Boom.
I love that story.
Corrie ten Boom had a lot of really bad things happen to her. She literally survived the Holocaust. And yet people who met her afterwards said that she was one of the most happiest people they'd ever met. And it's not because anything about what she went through, it's because she trusted God. And I think that is so important. We can learn from that. She wrote a really good book called The Hiding Place. I love that book.
I haven't read it yet.
It is very heavy, but it is such a good book, and it puts things into perspective. And actually, a couple years ago, when I was really struggling with, and we'll talk about this in a minute, which is being in myself and just being very, like, victim mentality, like, oh, poor me, about whatever was in my life. I read that book, and after I got done reading it, I was just like, you know what?
Girl?
I have food to eat. I have a bed to sleep in. I have, like, even I think about, she lost her sister. I literally have my whole family. I have my sister. And so, like, I'm literally so blessed. Like, what do I have to complain about?
Shut up,
Not
Frank.
that our problems aren't valid.
That's, we're not saying, like,
that just, like, if you had something bad happen to you that, like,
that you're, no.
That you must, like,
I understand.
be
There's a time
the
for grieving, that's.
Yes, for sure. But another thing I think that can steal our joy is discontentment. We're always trying, especially in this day and age where there's, like, instant gratification, you know. You microwave your food, it's done in 30 seconds.
Well, and plus, like, attention spans.
Yeah.
Just, like, scrolling on TikTok or YouTube or whatever.
So,
I hate it. Like, our attention spans are so bad now.
Yeah, and that carries over into, like, life decisions. And so we get so discontent with our lives right now. Instead of being grateful for things in the moment and what you have right now, you're always like, oh,
what am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing next week?
Like, I can't wait. I'll be happy when this happens later in the week. Or even, like, in a bigger span, like when I get this job or when I graduate from college, or a lot of people, this is a big one for a lot of people, is when I get in a relationship.
Yeah.
Is like they can't be fulfilled until they get in a relationship, which is a huge dangerous trap. Again, we might have a whole episode on that at some point.
The season of singleness, baby.
But we might have an episode on that. But that trap of like, my life is not fulfilled and not enough until I get in a relationship, and that's so dangerous.
It's also very easy to fall into.
It is very easy to fall into, and I've done it before too. But your life is fulfilled in Christ, and that is something you already have. If you're saved, that's something you already have. Yeah. And so if you go into a relationship thinking that that is gonna fulfill everything, and that is going to, like, satisfy you, and that's gonna, that'll be like, now my life is complete. That's a great thing. If you're in a relationship, like, that's a great thing. I'm not undermining that. But that is not what gives you purpose in life. That is only Jesus. And so all of that to say that be happy, be joyful in the moment, and where you're at, where God has you right now. Not that you can't grow and have a better life, but be grateful for where you are right now. Don't let discontentment steal your joy. Yeah. Those things, all of these things that we just mentioned, worry, bitterness, discontentment, and many other things, those are just a few of them, they will take your eyes off of Jesus and put them on yourself. And what does that do? That steals your joy, because your joy is based in Jesus. Yeah, and honestly, you can always find something to burn your day. It's a fact. Mm-hmm. If you have a self-centered mindset, you will have a lot of bad days. Yeah. And, like, if you're focused on yourself and your problems, you're going to feel discontent. I have a big problem with, I am a very internal thinker, so I think I get inside my head a lot. Yeah. And so if I get inside my head and I'm thinking about all my problems, I can very easily find my joy being stolen, and it will ruin my whole day if I let myself be like, woe is me. Yeah. Like, this happened and that happened and this thing. A lot of times we fall into a trap of, like, complaining, getting discouraged, even becoming depressed. And this is not undermining depression, because it's a very real problem. Yeah. And it needs to be dealt with, and it's hard to get out of it. But a lot of times it starts from being in yourself and being my problems and my thing. And even, like, a victim mentality where it's like, nobody else can understand how I feel, so they can't help me. My friends can't help me. I can't tell anybody because they won't understand. Nobody maybe has it as bad as I do. Now, all of these things are things that I have thought. So I know exactly what that feels like. We know where you're at, yeah. But you can't get down that rabbit hole, because you're always going to find something. You're always going to have problems in your life. It's a bottomless pit, honestly. Literally. You can always find something to ruin your day. If you're looking for something to ruin your day, something to focus on, you will always find it, because the world is not perfect. Yeah, and I mean, you might have a lot of hard things going on. We're not saying that our life is easy. We're not saying your life is easy. No. There might be a lot of bad things that happen to you, or will have happened to you, will happen to you. Yeah. So we're not saying they always need to be super cheerful and bubbly. Like, right. James 1:2 says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations." Exactly. So it is even through those things. And remember, joy is not the outward happiness. It's not always being super, like you said, cheerful and bubbly. It's not always that. Now, that's a lot of times going to show up that way. But you can have joy even in diverse temptations, because, as we said before, joy is based in Jesus, who never changes. So even through those temptations, you still have Jesus, so you can still have joy. Yeah. And trying to find joy in yourself or in your circumstances or anything else, like we said before, like a relationship, any of those things, if you try to find joy in those things, it will always fail you, because the world is not perfect. There's just a song about that. Jesus never fails. Yeah. Jesus never. Okay, we're not gonna sing for you guys. Sorry. Yeah, this is not a singing channel. I got one note and I was like, no, my voice is not. Yeah, but that's always gonna fail you, because even if you have a great job, say, and that is literally where you find all of your joys in that job. One day you have a bad day at your job. That's gonna devastate you. That's gonna ruin your day if you have a bad day at work, or if your relationship. If you're basing your joy in your relationship and your spouse or boyfriend or whoever fails you, that's going to devastate you. Or girlfriend. There could be boys watching. Well, yeah. Shout out to all the guys watching. If those things are going to fail you, it's a reality. People fail people are not perfect. God is perfect. So put your trust in him, and he will not fail you. And that's why you can always have joy. And to go along with that, we were saying that you always find something to ruin your day. You can also always find something to be joyful about.
Okay, so something that this is like, I think this is going to be the ultimate, my favorite episode, because this is something I love talking about.
Yes.
But anyway, something that I think is also really important to remember is that we are really blessed to be living in America.
Literally.
If you guys are watching from somewhere else, we're not saying
that you're not blessed.
that you're not blessed. I'm really trying not to be like.
But most of our viewers are probably from America.
And sometimes this is, I know I'm a weirdo. Sometimes I'll be in church and I'll be thinking, we are so grateful that there's not police knocking down the door and taking our dad away, because he's the preacher. And like, it's weird to think, like, I know like that's a kind of an odd thought.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll just pause and I'm like right now I'm reading a book of it's like a biography. Is that, yeah, okay, a biography on this boy who lived through the Holocaust. And it's like, it goes through what he went through and everything like that, and I'm like, kind of like we were touching about on Corey Ten Boom too. It's like we have so much in America. We have so much freedom. I know there are things being taken away, and I'm not saying like
sure, and bad things still do happen in America. So we're not saying that, but we have a lot of blessings that a lot of people in history never had, and so I think it's very important to take time and intentionally stop and think about all that God has done, because I guarantee you, no matter what situation you're in, you can think of things that God has done for you and ways that God has blessed you, and that is so important to dwell on. And I mean, what do the Psalms do all the time? They thank God, they praise God for things that he has done. So that is so important, and that is a very key thing to being joyful.
And even on the really bad days when maybe something really bad did happen or something like that, we can trust that God knows what's best for us. We can trust that he has a plan that for whatever happened, even if it's something small or big, that there's something, we might not see it at the time. We might not see, I've been through things where I'm like, God, why are you doing this? And then maybe even, it could be even years later, and I'm like,
and you figure it out.
That was why. And it's like, it's a wow moment. It's like,
whoa. There's a Bible verse that says all things work together for good to them that love
love
God,
that verse.
They are the called according to his purpose. So God works things, even the bad things, for your good. And I know this is an example that's going to seem to some people like, oh, that's kind of stupid. But I remember...
That's kind of stupid. Sorry.
So rude. I don't even know what I was going to say. I remember when we moved, we used to live in Indiana for... a lot of my childhood, and then when I was 10 we moved to Wisconsin, and I had a really hard time with that, and I think I'm gonna get to this in a minute. I think it was needful, but I had a really hard time with it because I was very rooted where I was, and I had friends, and then all of that we had to move and make new friends, new church, new house, everything was new, and I didn't do well with change. And so I really kind of struggled with that for a while, of like, why did that happen? Now, this is kind of an extreme example, because there are way more extreme examples that I could give. But this is just something, I mean, as a 10-year-old, it was pretty extreme for me at the time. And so I was just like, well, why did that happen? Like, I miss my old life. And now I realized, it actually took me quite a long time to fully realize, but I realized that was so needful for me personally, and I know for other people in my family too, because I'm not the only one in my family.
No. You guys?
What?
She's not the only one in her family.
No way. That's weird. But it was very needful for me, because like I said, I don't do well with change, so I really needed to be uprooted so that I could grow closer to God, I could get new friends, and we could serve in the church where we're at right now. So all that was so needful. But I didn't really realize it at the time. So I think it's really good if you can realize it in the moment, because then you can see what God is doing in your life. And it's really amazing. But even if you don't see it in the moment, you can always look back and see what God has done in the past for you.
Yeah. Another important thing too is take time for joy.
Literally.
Look around at all you have to be thankful about. Look around at your friends, your family, the house that you live in.
Literally, we have so much. Like we were saying, in America, you literally have food to eat, you have a bed to sleep in, you have all of these things that are provided for you.
This takes me to my favorite point 2, and that is find joy in the little things. So whether it's watching the sunset, which I happen to love, or it's finding a Bible verse that spoke out to you.
Yeah.
Or a new ice cream flavor.
Yeah.
Y'all, that's exciting.
I'm lactose intolerant.
But I can, so.
Hey, there's lactose-free ice cream out there,
Yes.
so.
You found your...
Literally.
You're learning. Well, that was really loud. But anyway, you only live life once. We all only live life once.
Yes.
So, live it to the fullest.
For real. And
be adventurous. Try new things.
Yes, exactly.
Make memories.
And that's something that, like I said before, that I kind of struggle with because I kind of get stuck in myself and my little problems, whatever. And that's actually something that you've helped me with a lot because you're like a really like cheerful person, and you're always like, what was the best part of your day, you know, or like at least this happened, or like whatever. And so that really helped me. One huge thing that helped me is when I walk to and from work now, I like to stop and thank God and just be in the moment and like look around and just like look at the sun and the flowers or whatever is around me and just be like, wow, thank you God for that. And I can find joy in that, even if I had a bad day at work or whatever. I can find joy in that thing, and that's something that's taken me a while to learn.
So, smile at that stranger, pick those flowers, go stargazing, live your life to the fullest. Find joy in the little things.
Literally. And I think one more thing is that you can find joy in making other people happy too. So, like, find other people who maybe
go talk to the girl in the corner.
Yeah, literally.
Or the guy in the corner.
Yeah, and make them happy too. Just smile at them, and maybe they'll smile back. You never know. You might make somebody else's day more joyful too.
So we hope this episode was a blessing to you guys, an encouragement to find the joy in the little things in life. So stay strong,
stay faithful,
and remember who we serve.